Welcome to Education in Our Community. I am your host for this segment, the Reverend Robert L. McKnight, and I am honored to have as my distinguished guest none other than Lee Cherry. He is the CEO of the African Scientific Institute. Welcome, Brother Cherry. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Did I get all of that right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Institute. We're glad that you are here. And every time we get to the heart of the discussion, it is time to wrap up the show. And so I just want to delve right into the heart of the matter. We had an opportunity to talk earlier, and you were sharing with me that you just recently back from a trip to the motherland.
Yes.
I think Nigeria was
Yes.
one of the countries that you visited on
Yes.
the continent.
Yes.
And you shared some of your purpose for being there, and we want to talk about that.
Yes.
But then you said something, and I had never even known that it was in existence prior to your sharing with me. You said something about the Nelson Mandela University.
Yes.
And that there are 4 of them.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we know that President Nelson Mandela just recently transcended.
Yes.
How long have they been established? And tell me a little about them and your involvement with them.
Okay, I just got back from Nigeria just before Thanksgiving, and we had 2 functions that we were presenting in Nigeria. One function had to do with geospatial information systems. We were there to expose people that we would be training trainers of how to use GIS software. The other activity had to do with presenting science, technology, engineering, math, badging, like Boys and Girl Scouts, the military, or anyone who has a degree recognizing their accomplishments. We call those badges.
Yes.
And we were going to present that to whomever in the areas of agriculture or food security. Well, while we were there, we had the opportunity to visit this university, one of the universities that Nelson Mandela had established in his name. They're private universities. They have to do with training graduate students in areas of science and technology primarily.
Graduate students,
Yes.
not undergrad.
Right, right. You'd be working on your master's degree or your PhD or your fellowship. One of the universities is located in Abuja, Nigeria, the capital of Nigeria. We had an opportunity to speak to the president of that university, who was familiar with us because he also was a professor at Princeton University. So we got to be pretty close while I was there. Anyway, that university is a subgroup of the Pan-African University system.
Hold it right there.
Yes.
Now, I'm not the only one. I have some cousins in the audience.
Yes.
Tell us about this Pan-African University
Okay.
system.
The Africa Union, based in Ethiopia, has as its workhorse called the Africa Union Commission. One of the 6 commissioners is the Commissioner of Human Resources and Science and Technology. Just until recently, that commissioner was Dr. Ezen. Dr. Ezen, under his stewardship, formed this concept called Pan-African Universities.
Pan-African University.
Yes,
I'm with you.
these would be universities where they would concentrate on certain areas of study. One of the universities that was adopted for science, technology, and engineering is the University of Kenya. And so a lot of resources will be put at that university to let people know that we are, as Black people, studying engineering and science in Africa. But there's centers of excellence that are tied to that university. So this network is being created throughout the continent to enhance our developments in whatever fields of study that might be available. We had the opportunity. Dr. Ezen is an ASI fellow. He's tied to us. He's a mathematician by trade. He's from the Republic of Benin, and we have friends in the Republic of Benin, next door to Nigeria. So we've had the opportunity to work with him also in this presentation of our workshop. Our workshop was funded basically through UNESCO, the United Nations arm for education, science, and culture.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now let me back up, and please forgive me, but I don't want this to slip by. You keep dropping these names. I love that Centers of Excellence.
Yes.
I would rather that to be how we refer to the process of education here, rather than public education. Call them centers of excellence.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Now, is that an official title?
That is an official title in Africa. And just as an aside, the African diaspora through the AU is now listed as the 6th region of Africa. People need to understand that, the 6th region. That means that we are in the process right now formulating the delegations to go to the African Union and vote on what happens with Africa and Africa in the diaspora's relationship to Africa. That's happening right now. So there's organizations basically throughout the world. I had the opportunity to be one of the delegates, international delegates, to help form the declaration on, what we would call it, civil society declaration. And it's a declaration. It's on our website, the African Scientific Institute's website. We had 70 countries come and talk about how black people throughout the world would better interface with Africa. We also talked about how we can get a better handle on producing our own money, producing our own industries. How do we enhance our ability to feed ourselves? How do we better handle and manage our raw materials research and resources? So it was great. It was basically a 10-year process.
Now let me ask you, where are these conversations taking place and who can participate in them?
Okay, right
even as an observer.
Okay, if you go to our website, you get more information about what happened with this. There are two things that have happened just recently. In 2011, there was the second 50-year manifesto developed. The first 50-year manifesto was developed with Kwame Nkrumah, Cheikh Anta Diop, Frantz Fanon, Humphrey Bogart, and we had the opportunity to develop the second 50 years.
Oof.
So at this gathering of countries around the world, in particular in Africa, we did this in the Republic of Benin. And we put together that manifesto. It's now at the AU. It's been accepted by the African Union. But as an adjunct to that, we developed this civil society declaration, which further how we are going to operate more effectively in relating to Africa. Now, that's just one thing. In addition to this, the African Scientific Institute main thrust is to get more of us involved in the worlds of science and technology and where developments in science and technologies are taking us in the future.
Now, you keep mentioning the website. What is that website?
Our website is www.
ASI-org.net.
Yes.
And here we can find out.
You can get our email address. You can get our phone number. And if you want to get involved in anything that we are involved in, just send us an email address and we'll put you in the contact with the right people.
Okay. Now, do you have an annual calendar posted in terms of your activities that are open to the public?
What we have, and we listed on our website, we have various activities that we are involved in. And people come to us from around the world with their projects, and they use us as a networking tool to enhance their projects. As an example, the people came to us to see how we can better present GIS software in Africa. And we started in Nigeria in November, because November 20th worldwide is GIS Day. And so we presented it in Africa, in Nigeria, to let people know that we're also involved with that. And we're using that tool to enhance how we can better bring people from subsistence agriculture to agribusiness, as an example, in Nigeria, and use that as a model. So we will be starting with about 6 farmlands in Nigeria, and then we're going to expand that to Senegal and Ghana to look at the Western Africa region and use that as a model to show people that, yes, through a networking of Black people throughout the world, and indeed anybody who wants to help, regardless of their ethnic or racial background, to enhance the agricultural systems, we're using this model to do that.
Now, you have used the acronym GIS.
Yes.
At least 3 times in our conversation.
Yes.
But you did tell us the meaning of it earlier on. Now, what is that acronym? What does it stand for?
I use it typically saying geospatial information systems.
Geospatial information
Some people say geographic information systems. Now, people are familiar with what we call GPS, because everybody says, okay, they're using 4 squares on the phone to locate where everybody is located. Now, what happens in an example, in a square meter area, there's information that can be placed in that region. You can say, okay, what is the temperature in that region? What is the material? How many people are in that area? What's the nature of the people in the area, their economics? You can put all kind of information in a geographic location. Now, with that information, managers can get a better handle on what exists in a given location. Marketing people use this as a tool. Military uses it as a tool globally. But also you use this in space travel, because you have to know what conditions exist as people are flying throughout space, and how that movement of a satellite is interfacing with a point on Earth. So this data is used everywhere, and it's been going on here in the United States since about 1960.
Excellent. You also mentioned your purpose, one of your purposes for visiting the motherland.
Yes.
And in our conversation prior to the show, you were telling me about this badging.
Yes.
And I had shared with you that that is something that organizations here should look at using, how we can give credentials of recognition, validate each other's skills, accomplishments. Tell us more about this badging, and you liken it to Girl Scouts and Eagle Scouts and what have you. They receive badges after completion of some stage of training or experience.
We all have some form of a badge. When you get a degree from a high school or a diploma, they give you a badge. It's called a diploma.
So that's a badge. My high school diploma is one of my badges.
One of your badges. But also, a person has many skills. You might have a PhD or a doctorate in divinity, but you also know how to hang sheetrock. But a lot of people don't know that you know how to use a hammer and hang sheetrock or do carpentry work. We use the concept of badging to let people know that individuals have many skills that is not necessarily tied to the degrees where other, primarily Western institutions have identified you on your resume as having certain skill sets. We want people to know that, a typical individual might have 10 or 20 skill sets. Now, this badging concept is something that you'll find at Mozilla. Mozilla is, they have a software they call Firefox.
Yes.
Yeah, Firefox browser. They have got together with like the MacArthur Foundation and some other foundation, and they've decided to use this digitally. So you can take these various badges that you have, if you will, and digitize them conceptually and put them in your backpack. So if anybody anywhere in the world want to know, as an example, what Reverend McKnight, what skills that he has, they can go into your backpack and say, oh, this guy, boy, he's a genius. He has 50 badges. And that's exciting for a person. And we need to be able to give our own people our own forms of recognitions independent of, quote unquote, what the system might say.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Now, I know you used it as a metaphor. Could you explain to us what you mean by you can go into my backpack or your backpack and see the badges?
Yes.
What do you mean by backpack? We know what a backpack is.
Yes.
We see students using it. Everyone has a literal backpack, but how do you use it?
Okay, what you find today, young people, which is becoming older people, use the internet to conceptualize ideas. And when you think of a backpack, if you can conceptualize that, visualize that, you can digitize it. Now, when you digitize it conceptually, a person can put anything in that backpack. You don't have to call it a backpack. You can call it a bag, or you can call it a file cabinet. A person said, what do you have in your file cabinet? What do you have in your bag? Somebody now want to ask, what do you have in your backpack? So conceptually, in your mind, you can see this backpack, and you can ask the person, well, what is on your resume in your backpack? So a person pulls out your resume and find out there's more on that resume beyond the degrees you might have received in public schools.
Now, we continue to have generations entering into the marketplace.
Yes.
So say, for instance, you're just graduating from Howard, Morehouse, MIT, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
How would you create a backpack digitally?
What would happen, as an example, what I encourage, and a lot of students do this, students have internships, they have work-study programs. Some parents have worked with their children on farms. They have worked with their children to help them with building houses. So their children have a lot of skill sets other than what that degree might indicate.
Yes.
They might be getting a degree in history, but a lot of people don't know that this person also knows how to build a house. That student also knows how to be a good orator, a good writer, a good painter, a great artist, a great musician. All of those can be awarded to that individual. And so when a person, again, looks at their resume and their backpack, they can see that that individual who graduates from college, boy, that person has a good skills in being a warehouse. They also have skills of showing up on time. They're good workers. These things employers need to know. It also will help the businesses be able to better utilize that individual on the job site.
Yeah. Now, how do I get this? Here I am. I've just been awarded my degree. And as you said, I have all of this other experience, internships, what I learned within the family. How do I get that out there? No one knows this, but you're the only one who knows.
What is happening in Europe? They're using this concept more and more. You can go on the internet and just Google, Google Mozilla's badging concept.
Wow.
Yeah, and you'll find more information about this.
Mozilla.
Mozilla. They're the producers of a Firefox browser. Now, the African Scientific Institute, we are in the process of working with different institutions in Africa to give awards, if you will, these badges, to workers in the farm industry, in the agricultural industry. So if a person is good in working with pineapple, as an example, but now needs to go to another farm site, how does the owner of the new farm site know that this person is an excellent worker with pineapple? Now, if the farmer would, the owner would be able to see that this individual through this badge will see that somebody recognized them as being an expert in pineapple farm work. That gives that individual an opportunity, the worker, new worker, a chance to be accepted by the new owner of farmland. So it's just an example. But again, these are just some of the projects the African Scientific Institute has been involved in. Some people are working with us in nanotechnology. They want us to help them in presenting nanotechnology uses in Africa. Some people want us to look at mining and how do you tell if minerals are used. Some people want us to look at hydroelectric dams and are they operating properly. So people in ASI's network pretty much have the whole gamut of science and technology covered.
So your network is African Scientific Institute.
Yes.
Does that mean the usage of that term, including the continent of Africa? Is it international, or is it just here in the Bay Area?
It's international. I just so happen to be in the Bay Area, but the African Scientific Institute has representatives from 47 countries.
47 countries. Primarily
so,
on the continent?
We have primarily, really here, out of the 700 ASI fellows, I would say that about 350 to 400 of them are in the United States. But we have fellows from 33 African countries. We have ASI fellows in the Caribbean and in Brazil. And we also have ASI fellows in Europe.
I like it. Mm-hmm. And so do you have an annual gathering?
We started that in 2006. And we said, gosh, Lee, that's not a very efficient way of communicating to our children about the accomplishments of black people in science and technology. So some of the young people came to us and came up with this concept of bridging the divide, mixers. So we are now in the process of having mixers in various areas throughout the United States, in different parts of the world, where people used to get together as a mixer, where professionals interface with grad students, who interface with undergrad students, who interface with educators and K-12 students and parents. So they just come together in sort of a social setting and formulate their own relationships. So our thrust, again, for the African Scientific Institute is to get people excited about science and technology. What is going on with this money being spent going to Mars? How many African Americans are involved in that?
Wow.
How many African Americans and black people throughout the world are involved in managing gyms? How many black people do you know are certified gemologists? How many black people do you know run and operate mines? Even though we have diamonds throughout Africa, we have platinum, we have cobalt, how many black people are overseeing those mining of those operations?
You know, I would like for you, we're going to be wrapping up in a minute, how can we find out? We can't just open this up and leave it there. Are there any?
You can go to the African Scientific Institute's website and go to the ASI Fellows section, and you'll see about 700 names of these super scientists. We have people like Dr. James West. He's an ASI Fellow.
I know of
him. He has 75 patents. You can see Dr. Malaria. He has 250 patents. You can see Dr. Raymond Webster. He has a listing of over 35,000 patents that black people have been involved in over the years.
Now, what is his name?
His name is Raymond Webster.
Raymond
He has
Webster.
published a book called African American First in Science and Technology. But aside from that, he has a business where he allows people to access that database that he's developed. His name is Raymond Webster. You'll find geniuses like George Carruthers. He's an ASI fellow. Okay, you'll see Dr. Sospater Mhando. He's now the Minister of Mining and Energy for the country of Tanzania. He is the ASI fellow. You'll see people like Chisenga. He's the co-founder of the Zimbabwe Academy of Science. He's the ASI fellow. So you find these people, the first Minister of Science and Technology for South Africa, Dr. Mjena, he's the ASI fellow. So again, we're sort of spread out, and anybody can come into the network and ask for support on a project that they might be interested in, that they see the need for people in science and technology.
Excellent. Now, is there a mentoring program, an interning program? Say, for instance, there's this bright young secondary, not even, what do they call it, middle school now, student. Mm-hmm. And you see the potential there. You see the God-given genius. Mm-hmm. Can they access someone from the ASI
what we recommend,
as a mentor?
What we do recommend, and we partner with organizations. One organization that we help co-found is called NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. Primarily students around the country. There are 30,000 of them around the country. Every college and university in the United States that has an engineering or science program, these black students are there. They now have what is called NSBE professionals. Mm-hmm. There's 13,000 of them around the world. So what I would recommend for that student is to get involved with that local chapter of people, because one, they're closer to that young person's age. And that's one reason we formulated that. So again, you have college undergraduate students who can better interface with K-12 students.
Now, that information is also available on your through your
yes.
website.
Yes, anytime you think a person might need some assistance,
go there.
Just email us.
All right, I want to thank you for taking this time out to join us on education in our community. That information was so valuable. And again, I want to refer you, you would see it in the credits, to the ASI website, and information will be there. If you Google the name, plug in the name Lee O'Cherry. Want to thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so until next time, I am your host, Reverend Robert L. McKnight, saying, see you then.